guess, isn't it? Share. Yeah, I'm sharing it. Yeah. So this slide, it's meant to give you specific inputs or specific information on reason why we are performing well with regards to certain sustainable development goals. Reason why we are not performing well with regards to certain sustainable development goals is what the discussion that happened here. Then this is more or less similar discussion, but here I also try to include certain important statistics, like say what's the percentage population, headcount ratio, comparison to national average, these kind of things. Then I specifically mentioned what is goal 11 and why we aren't performing well in goal 11. What is goal 15? Why we aren't performing goal 15? In that context, we also had a brief discussion on the concept of desertification or land degradation, how to control our measures to control the this expansion of land degradation or desertification. These are certain ideas we discussed. Then this slide I told is used like under each SDG. What are the criteria that Niti Aayog is taking? What are the criteria that Niti Aayog is taking? So that will help us understand why we are performing well in certain indicators, why we aren't performing well in certain SDGs based on understanding that specific criteria. So that's how this slide would be of help to you. Okay. Then this slide is regarding trying to understand health profile of Andhra Pradesh, district-wise health profile of Andhra Pradesh. Not that specific it is, but still to the extent possible, we try to gather ideas by discussion also how to identify specific health problems of particular districts or particular sub-regions within the state of Andhra Pradesh. That's the intent. And here we also had a brief discussion on multidimensional poverty index and breakup of how multidimensional poverty index is in different districts of Andhra Pradesh. That's what we discussed, and also criteria and what is the performance of Andhra Pradesh on multidimensional poverty index. Those discussion we had. The rural-urban differentials, decadal growth trends in Andhra Pradesh. These things we discussed. Then renewable energy in state of Andhra Pradesh. Here we discuss certain facts on what's the present renewable energy commission capacity and how many projects are in pipeline. Then we also discussed about this AP Green Energy Corporation Limited, its intent and what's the target it has kept for itself, and what's the intent behind government launching this AP Green Energy Corporation Limited. That discussion we had, isn't it? Then also we discussed about the potential, renewable energy potential, especially in this context, solar energy generating potential of state of Andhra Pradesh was briefly discussed. And this slide was meant to discuss those projects, important projects, big ultra mega solar power projects which are in pipeline, along with the examples and their try to understand the economic potential also, how they can generate employment and how they can generate revenue and help address the problem of unemployment and economic growth of that particular districts. Then this particular thing slide, it's meant to stimulate discussion on the topic of externally aided projects. We also discussed certain things like what's the necessity or need for externally aided projects and how to tap finances effectively for externally aided projects is the discussion we had. Then in the context of AP Fiber, we discussed what possible applications or what possible benefits would flow in the rural development sector is the discussion we had. And later we went on to discuss tourism potential of Andhra Pradesh. In that context, you guys have told me beach tourism potential or religious tourism or spiritual tourism and other things like rural tourism, eco-tourism. Why not medical tourism? Because we are having one health city in Visakhapatnam. We can also think seriously about medical tourism, culinary tourism. These are the ideas that certain things which we have discussed. And that's the mandate of these intention of these slides. And yes, then we also had very brief discussion on different geographical indications of state of Andhra Pradesh with some examples, isn't it? That's what happened in yesterday's session. So today, yeah, we'll begin today's session with this important concept of industrial corridors. Do confirm, is my audio clear? That's what I'm getting, 1 or 2 messages in Telegram. Audio is clear, ma? Please confirm. Okay, fine. So this is on this industrial corridor. So we all know that there are three important industrial corridors. So definitely we can expect one essay or definitely 115 marker is most likely on this topic. And you guys already know Visakhapatnam, Chennai Industrial Corridor. Other important corridor is Chennai Bangalore Industrial Corridor. Other one which has created some buzz in the recent times is this Hyderabad Bangalore Industrial Corridor. So let's see certain things. And yeah, these are the important notes. These are the important notes of Visakhapatnam Chennai Industrial Corridor. I'm sure most of you would remember these names because these are something very basic which examiner would expect from you. So try to remember these. Visakhapatnam node, Kakinada node, Gannavaram Kankipadu node, and Srikalahasti Erpedu node are the four important nodes of industrial corridor, this Visakhapatnam Chennai Industrial Corridor, and the proposed Bangalore Kurnool Industrial Corridor. So we have this Orvakallu node, but it is still in the stage of conception and project preparation. Excuse me, DPR stage only. And we have Krishnapatnam node as part of Chennai Bangalore Industrial Corridor. Krishnapatnam node as part of Chennai Bangalore Industrial Corridor. These are all facts. Nothing much to talk about this. So be aware of this idea that industrial corridor. So what would an industrial corridor consist of? Industrial corridor will create network of, try to observe these terms very carefully. Industrial nodes, transport linkages, and support infrastructure. So what an industrial corridor entails, it will create a network of industrial nodes, transport linkages, and support infrastructure. And we all know what benefits would Visakhapatnam Chennai Industrial Corridor would have. And as part of it, yes, you must be already aware it is a part of East Coast Economic Corridor. Be aware of this simple fact. East Coast Economic Corridor, and it is best suited to execute India's Act East policy. It is best suited to execute India's Act East policy, which means how Andhra Pradesh can play, a more proactive role, how Andhra Pradesh can play a more proactive role in international relations, especially when it comes to international trade, especially when it comes to international trade. So we must properly tap this geographical advantage of the way in which the coastline of Andhra Pradesh is aligned, which gives us proximity to Southeast Asian nations, Yesterday's class also we tried to mention this, isn't it? Also because of our rich presence of Buddhist sites, that also is one way of building up soft power, people to people contacts. So we can also use it that way. And yes, international trade. Okay, try to prepare in this way also. Now try to observe this image very carefully. So this is an industrial corridor, and these are all essential aspects of an industrial corridor. So examiner would expect from you. When I'm saying this, I'm saying about industrial corridor. I'm not talking anything specific to Visakhapatnam Chennai industrial corridor. If a question comes up in your exam like, what are industrial corridors? What are industrial corridors? Then you must be in a position to write all these things. Say industrial corridors are meant to, of course, industrial corridors will have nodes, transport linkages, and support infrastructure. And industrial corridor will have all these benefits or all these advantages. Industrial corridor, of course, in your APPSC exam, still there is not clarity whether you can write, whether you can draw diagrams or not. But especially if they give that clarity that we can draw diagrams, then these kind of diagrams will add a lot of value. These diagrams can add a lot of value to your answers. Look at this, growth poles or nodes. So what would happen at nodes? These nodes will provide for suitable investment climate. See, don't take these ideas for granted. I'm aware that you know all these things, but knowing these things in specificity 1 or 2 weeks before exam will ensure that you write these points in exam. So please do not take it casually. Observe very carefully what we are doing. Okay. So growth nodes. What will growth nodes facilitate? Growth nodes of an industrial corridor will facilitate suitable investment climate and higher production capacities, one-stop services, and other fiscal incentives. At least you must be in a position to write these 4 ideas. Then transport linkages, important, transport infrastructure improvement, and of course reduced costs because of coordinated movements of passengers and goods. Then what kind of support infrastructure will be there as part of this industrial corridor? Skill development centers or human resource development centers, the reduction in the cost of infrastructure services like power, water, etc. Power, water, etc. So if you can see this, this is a node, this is a node here, and these are the transport linkages. These are the transport linkages connecting nodes, transport linkages connecting nodes. These are the actual industrial centers. Industrial centers need not be located only in the node. If you observe carefully, there is something here called as influence zone. There is something here called as influence zone. See, along this entire influence zone, when you are creating an industrial corridor, it's not that industries have to be concentrated only in that node. Industries can, or industries will get themselves interspersed even in that influence zone. Even in that influence zone, try to observe more terminology. So industrial corridor method of development or industrial corridor approach to development. What all things will be there as part of industrial corridor approach to development? We also call it corridor approach to development. Corridor approach to development is a very popular world over. So it will ensure integrated and sustainable development. It takes care of skill upgradation, which is very important. Proactive urbanization means see, the kind of urbanization which we are currently witnessing is haphazard urbanization. Haphazard means unplanned urbanization fueled by distress migration. Unplanned or haphazard migration fueled by more by distress migration. Means it's not that people are moving to cities for seeking employment opportunities because they have some skill or something like that, because they have nothing to do at villages, because of the huge unemployment in the rural areas, because of lack of opportunities in the rural areas, they are migrating to urban areas. So proactive urbanization is a very important thing countries like India should have. So proactive urbanization will also minimize all the perils associated with haphazard urbanization. All the perils associated with haphazard urbanization, what I meant: slum proliferation, then poor civic amenities, law and order issues, ghettoization, lack of social harmony, and individual health related issues, with mental health issues because of loneliness and lack of community, lack of strong communities. So all these perils which are associated with haphazard urbanization can be addressed by proactive urbanization. So proactive urbanization, it's gaining currency these days. And yes, industrial corridor development will stimulate a proactive urbanization, which is a planned way of urbanization. And of course, it will improve industrial infrastructure and reliable inputs to manufacturing and improvement of transport infrastructure like road and rail. It also will ensure development of cities, smart cities, and it will ensure more scientific spatial planning, along with investor friendly policies. So all these are some of the important aspects associated with an industrial corridor. These ideas would be helpful both for your essays, and also for your general studies questions. Okay, yeah. So yes, industrial corridor, transport corridor will be nothing but, say, it will be linking two nodes, and it also will be having infrastructure which will facilitate trade. So three most important components of industrial clusters. Three most important components of industrial corridors would be these things. Observe carefully. One, urbanization. Other, trade and transport connectivity. Then, of course, formation of industrial clusters. Industrial corridors will have industrial clusters. Observe carefully. Industrial corridors will have industrial clusters. Industrial clusters, transport connectivity, trade connectivity, and urbanization. Okay. So yes, in their interface, we will have other advantages like labor availability, technology, knowledge, innovation, commerce, access to different kind of industrial centers, access, distribution, collection, goods, access to market, and access to gateways. So these are the important components of an industrial corridor. Say if a question on industrial corridor comes in your exam, if you can quickly show this in a diagrammatic way, that urbanization, industrial corridor, trade and transport connectivity, it will add a lot of depth to your answers. So based on what we have already discussed yesterday, let's try to quickly revise. What are the benefits of corridor model of development? Machilipatnam and Donakonda are mentioned in the academic survey. I'll get back. I did not update myself. I'll just cross check once and I'll try to change it accordingly based on what is correct in the document. Okay. Yeah. This thing, there is some lack of clarity. I'll try to ask somebody who has cleared this exam, because PPSC says there is you should not draw diagram, but I heard from some of my friends who have cleared this exam that they have drawn diagram. So there is debate on this. You just use your discretion. Let me not confuse you by saying do this, do that. Take a call according to your discretion. Now, yes, please tell me, what are the benefits of corridor model of development? Hope my question is clear. What are the benefits of corridor model of development? What are the benefits of corridor model of development? In corridor model of development, what are the benefits? Okay, it can be a little more specific. Faster freight movement, reduce migration. Okay. Yeah. Decentralized development, manufacturing development, creating land parcels, employment, economic development. Okay. Can you be a little more specific? Yeah, this is what I'm expecting. Economies of scale, isn't it? That's the most important thing. Economies of scale is the most important thing associated with corridor model of development. Why we have to create corridors? We have to create corridors because we have to take advantage of this, something called as economies of scale, isn't it? Say, of course, it reduces cost of production, therefore increases in competitiveness. Very good, Charan. Yes, logistics cost would be less. These things like employment generation, they all will follow, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Industry specific incentives, very good. Yes, plug and play, good. Yeah. Smooth access to industrial production, good, Bharadwaj. Yes. Mm, yeah. Investments, industrial element. First and foremost thing, resource optimization. That's a very good term. Somebody used it. Uh, yeah, yes, Harish. Resource optimization, isn't it? So resource optimization, economies of scale, corridor model of development will have all these benefits associated. So policy coherence, it will also bring in policy coherence. It will be easy for government to direct incentives in a more specific manner and to calibrate in incentives in a more specific manner, isn't it? So these are all the advantages, and it will facilitate easy technology transfer, and it will help in what do you call it, industrial know-how. Industrial know-how would be easily transferred if industries are located, if units are located in the proximity, and like marketing branding also would become easier, and you can have specialized organizations like financial institutions with specialized, say, certain financial institutions, these are specialized in lending for trade. Certain human resources institutions which are specialized in developing human resources for biotechnology sector. So a biotech cluster. Biotech cluster means if 8 to 10 biotechnology industries are located at one place, it will have all the advantages which you guys have just mentioned. Say optimal resource utilization or resource optimization, economies of scale, special or directed incentives in a very specific manner. Technology transfer would be easy, or technology know-how will be easy. Co-sharing of certain infrastructure. Co-sharing of certain infrastructure means, say for instance, industrial effluent treatment plants or power production, captive power production plants, or all these kind of things they can share, and they can bring down certain input costs. So obviously it will enhance competitiveness, as you guys are saying. It will make our industry more effective. It will improve ease of doing business. All these advantages would flow from industrial corridor model. And yes, there is also a possibility, as I've already told, specialized institutions like specialized financial institutions, specialized human resources development institutions, all these things would. And maybe sometimes industrial corridor model also stimulates like ancillary industries or MSME sector, and it will further boost growth of development. That is the reason government of India wanted to emulate this cluster model of development even in the rural areas. Right? That's why they have come up with this idea of Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Rurban Mission. As part of Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Rurban Mission, they wanted to develop urban clusters. Means group of 7 to 8 villages, they want to make them one urban cluster, and this urban cluster, all the same advantages which I have already told would have. But thing is that some of the state governments are not proactive, but it has a lot of potential. This can definitely decongest cities if we can generate employment right in the urban growth clusters in the villages, isn't it? So all these advantages we will have by adoption of uh, corridor, sorry, cluster model of development. Cluster model of development. Okay. Yeah, good. So going a little further, so industrial corridor strategy. Strategy means what all things government will do. Say it will have one strategy for industrial development. It will have strategy for ease of doing business. It will have strategy for infrastructure development. I don't want to discuss much here because you already know what infrastructure strategy will be like. You would already know industrial strategy could be like, isn't it? So this would be industrial strategy, what things they would be doing for improvement of ease of doing business. So this slide, I don't want to spend much time. Somebody mute yourself now. That's what, like, it depends on what type of cluster it is, right? say if I establish a urban growth cluster, why not? It will ensure that value addition will happen right at the level of village. So definitely it will minimize wastage of agriculture raw material. I want to observe this slide. It's another very important slide. Observe this carefully. First, you observe this part. So district wise, manufacturing sector's contribution to total GDP. District wise, manufacturing sector contribution to total GDP. If you can see here, barring Visakhapatnam, no district has significant contribution of manufacturing sector to its GDP. Manufacturing sector to its GDP. Okay, if districts like Vijayanagaram, they have 10% means, first of all, their GDP itself would be less. So in that, maybe one big factory would have been sufficient for it to go to 10. What I'm trying to say is that this slide would give us an indication about poor state of contribution of manufacturing sector to our GDP. Poor status of contribution of manufacturing sector to GDP. If you can replicate one or two facts like this, say, this, especially see, Nellore, a state with such a good potential, still manufacturing sector contribution is only 6%. I agree that there may be some, it's good in agriculture, it's good in mining, those things are there, services sector are also performing well in Nellore. And in spite of having a vibrant special economic zone like Sri City, still look what percentage manufacturing is contributing to GDP of Nellore. It's only 6%, right? So yes, there is a scope for improvement without exception in all the districts. In all the districts, try to analyze that slide a little more when I share the document with you. And look here, manufacturing sector's contribution to GDP. See, if we want to address the problem of growing income inequalities, we have very little options available with us now. One such important option which we have before us is enhancing manufacturing sector's contribution to GDP. Without enhancing manufacturing sector contribution to GDP, it's not easy for us to address the problem of growth of rampant unemployment in the country or in the state. See, look at this. Thailand, 34%. China, 32%. Even, Indonesia, 24%. But look at India, it's only 15%. And Andhra Pradesh, it's even worse, 10%. 10%. There might be slight discrepancy in this number, 1 or 2 points here or there. I'm sure, as you guys must have already read socioeconomic, AP Economic Survey, you must be aware of this. But the purpose of me discussing this slide is I want you to have this comparative account. Small nations like Thailand, China, of course, China is a big nation, Indonesia, if their manufacturing sector could contribute this much to their GDP, why not states like AP and why not countries like India? So look here, even within India, Gujarat is performing reasonably well. Tamil Nadu is also performing reasonably well. Maharashtra also is performing reasonably well. But yes, still that itself shows there is a lot of scope for development. And this also shows that manufacturing sector development is key and it is concentrated only in one district. It is concentrated only in one district. Even in, developed districts like Krishna and Guntur, you can see that manufacturing sector contribution to GDP is less. Okay, yeah. So this is another slide I want to mention as part of. Only thing is that I want this idea of influence region concept. It's go properly in your mind as we are discussing in detail the concept of industrial corridor. These are the districts through which industrial corridor would be passing. And these quick facts, yes please, let's see these facts. Okay, let's see these facts quickly. So the corridor contributes to 5% of national GDP. What percentage it is contributing to national GDP? The corridor, not sorry, it can contribute 5% of national GDP. It's a big number. And look at the influence area. 3.5% of the entire Indian area would be positively influenced because of this corridor development. These ideas you can use in both your essays as or also as introductions in your general studies answers. So industrialization be supplemented by natural resources available in the region, isn't it? Because these places already have natural gas, isn't it? We have good natural gas, we have good minerals, we have good agricultural products, isn't it? So now they'll be put to optimal use. The major ports are well connected and in close proximity to East Asian economies. 80% of AP's coastline have potential for development of good ports. Good ports. Okay. So going little further, another important term which I want you to be aware is this node-centric development. Node-centric development. So these are 4 nodes. This thing I'll just confirm and clarify. Let's do it now only because you are the ones reading current affairs much more than me. So what's the node now? That is there any in recent news on that? If somebody can tell us, we can clarify it right here. Yes, please. Yeah, it's Machilipatnam and Donakonda. Okay, fine. Others, please try to confirm. I guess all of you are going for an exam in just 2 weeks, isn't it? Yeah. Fine. Good. So thanks for that update. Fine. So going a little further. So hinterland connectivity, it's another very important idea associated with any corridor development. So they'll boost hinterland connectivity. If you remember, I also use this term in the context of Sagarmala initiative, right? In the context of Sagarmala initiative also, I use this term hinterland connectivity. And Visakhapatnam, Chennai industrial corridor also have this hinterland connectivity advantages. Be aware of that because this is one point which is not highlighted in the newspapers, but we have to address it with reasonably good depth. Say Eastern Karnataka also will get benefited, isn't it? Eastern Karnataka will get benefited because of it, isn't it? So especially Bangalore, Tumkur, Chitradurga region, these are all mining regions, right? So yes, the ports in Visakhapatnam, Chennai Industrial Corridor are convenient gateway port for this region. So Eastern Karnataka development also would be stimulated by this VCIC corridor. So it in turn will strengthen our relationship with our neighbor, even Eastern India. So industries are important cargo centers due to technical advantage of VCIC ports over East Indian ports. Say when compared to East Indian ports, the proximity of our ports in VCIC corridor, they may prefer, even Eastern Indian mining regions or industrial regions, they may prefer VCIC ports. Even Central Indian region like Hyderabad and Nagpur, we have important production centers, consumption centers, and they can also serve as cargo agglomeration centers for northern Central India, especially the ports of Visakhapatnam, Chennai Industrial Corridor. They can serve as agglomeration center. This is more in the nature of potential. Visakhapatnam Chennai Industrial Corridor has the potential not just to take care of the region through which industrial corridor is going, but it will also have positive collateral benefits to the hinterland regions like Eastern Karnataka, Eastern India, Central India. If you are just aware of this point, the purpose of this slide is served. So yes, this particular Visakhapatnam Chennai Industrial Corridor will also boost hinterland connectivity and hinterland development. Okay, and this idea, look at it. There is also a proposal for this Delhi Chennai dedicated freight corridor. There is a proposal for this Delhi Chennai dedicated freight corridor. Presently, how many functional dedicated freight corridors we have in our country? How many functional dedicated freight corridors we have in our country? Yes, please try to answer. Did you listen to my question carefully? How many functional dedicated freight corridor? I don't think both of them are not functional, isn't it? They're still in the stage of development. Only 60%. One is completed. Other is some I don't know, 50-55%. That's what they keep saying. That's what from 2011 they are saying. It's being developing, but it hasn't still materialized, but it has the potential to alter the face of logistics in the country, those dedicated freight corridor, but don't know the reason why they are delaying it for long. And even before the that so-called freight corridors, Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor and other one in other one connecting North India to Calcutta, even before the completion of this dedicated freight corridor, they are planning something like Delhi Chennai dedicated freight corridor. But these are all just on papers, but things on paper doesn't mean that we should not write them in exam. Definitely we can write them. Just write a point like if Delhi Chennai dedicated freight corridor would come into fruition, definitely it will further add boost to this Visakhapatnam Chennai industrial corridor. That one point would be sufficient. This slide also is important. Reason being, the specificity of this slide. Now, the specificity of this slide, because I've taken this slide from one presentation given to Asia Development Bank, ADB, one which is funding this project by, I think, by PwC something. So the specifics are important. Look at it. So a strategic mix of industries has been shortlisted to achieve targeted outcome of promoting manufacturing driven transformation. Means government has identified certain specific industries which already have some potential. They can be further given a push so that they'll start performing better. Likewise, they have also identified industries that has the potential for future development. Also, they try to shortlist. So you try to observe both. Food processing, we already have certain amount of advantage. Food processing, why we are choosing food processing? Because we already have certain amount of advantage. Food processing's ability to generate employment, and it has this thrust to MSME, and it is a top sector in terms of investments in the corridor, and it can drive export growth. Likewise, metallurgy, chemical and petrochemical, pharmaceutical, okay, automobiles. So these are the sectors which are already performing reasonably well. Try to remember, there are just 5 names, right? Food processing, metallurgy, chemical and petrochemical, pharmaceutical, automobiles. These are the ones in which we are doing okay, reasonably good. And these are the ones which we have to now promote more seriously, like medical equipment, plastics, organic chemicals, aerospace, electronics, textiles, IT and IT enabled services, IT and IT enabled services. So these are the ones which have future potential, and of course governments are also supporting them, so they can be developed in the future. Okay, did previous government did something regarding this? Yeah, medical equipment, yeah, isn't it? They have started this medtech zone, isn't it? Kalam Institute of Health and Technology, which is a research and development center, and along with it, they have started one dedicated AP medtech zone. But somehow, I don't know if it's still fully functional, but it has a lot of potential. A lot of potential because see, every year we are passively importing 30,000 crores worth medical equipment. Such simple things like even ECG machine. See, when before this corona, even pulse oximeters also we used to import. That itself shows the sad state of medical electronics industry in our country. 30,000 crore is a huge import burden, right? And also you have to remember, you have to understand this, Mark. Certain important equipment like the CT scans, MRI scans, ventilators and ventilator monitoring, the monitors, everything we are importing from countries like China, Taiwan, or Southeast Asian countries. Reason, if you ask any doctor, what's the most important thing you have invested your money in? Doctor will not tell that it's the land or it's the building lease or it's not what he's paying to other paramedical staff. Biggest investment of him would be on these electronic equipment like CT scan, MRI scan, ultrasound scan, or even all these things. So this also is one of the important reason that is enhancing or escalating the cost of out-of-pocket expenditure, isn't it? Say if you want to buy a CT scan, it costs somewhere around 3-4 crores. MRI scan, it costs somewhere around 8-9 crore. If a doctor want to have it in his hospital, then half of his life would be done just by paying EMIs for this equipment. So reason being, we do not have manufacturing ecosystem of medical equipment in our country. It is indirectly driving costs of medical technology and out-of-pocket expenditure of the patients. So that is one reason we have to have our own ecosystem of medical technology manufacturing. Medical technology manufacturing. Acha. Oh, good, Ravitesh. So they are started manufacturing. Nice. So yes, organic chemicals, we have potential. Aerospace, defense, we have already discussed in the beginning session. So electronics, we have a lot of potential to be exploited. Textiles, we have potential. IT enabled services, we have potential. Okay. So yes, and what the strategy should be, the reason why I'm showing to you, because these kind of whenever we are writing suggestions or solutions, we don't structure our answer properly like this. Say while writing way forwards, we can do it like this, right? Near term, what can be done in the near term, what can be done in the short term, what can be done in the medium term, what can be done in the long term. Say for instance, what can be done for industrial corridor development, say in a region called as X. We can say this. Say focus on debottlenecking. Debottlenecking means trying to address all the bottlenecks or all the limitations or all the constraints, isn't it? So focus on debottlenecking, both physical infrastructure and institutional framework and policy framework, which means try to bring reforms in your policies, labor policy or other say banking sector policy or investment policy, all this land acquisition policy. Try to bring reforms in these policies. Establish institutions, strong and credible institutional mechanisms. So then these are the first things. Say real estate, you have real estate regulatory authority, or port, you try to reform the institution, come up, try to move to most modern way of modern institutional mechanisms, or try to reform existing institutional mechanisms like that. Say in short term what you can do, in medium term what you can do, in long term what you can do. So these kind of structuring, generally whenever you are writing way forwards, we have this tendency to list points 1 2 3 4 5. So, and in this process, what will happen? Prioritization of the ideas would not be precise. So we might miss that precision when it comes to prioritization of ideas. So that's the reason while writing way forward for certain types of questions, these kind of categorization, like what can be done in the near term, what can be done in the short term, what in the medium term, what in the long term, will ensure that the quality of the answer would be good. Okay, that's the only reason why I have included this slide. Okay, and the reason why I have included this slide is because it has given an implementation strategy, means how to go about, especially with regards to this industrial corridor. So I thought I'll just show it to you. Say investment plan over the project period, and project prioritization and phasing, cluster development approach, investment promotion, skills mapping. These are the ones. This is how they want to go ahead. Now just try to read this part of the slide. You will easily understand what it is. It is nothing complicated, nothing difficult. What is skill mapping? Yeah. What is skill mapping? What is skill mapping means? Yeah, what is skill mapping? Skill mapping means, yeah, needs and availability, available labor, identifying skills, finding right job. Yeah, matching demand and supply. This is a much better way of putting it, isn't it? Skill mapping means, say we have to know what industry is actually demanding. We have to know what actually industry is demanding, and accordingly develop skills among our youth, isn't it? So skill mapping, it will help in identifying requisite skills. Say for instance, Germany, if we want to send our youth to Germany, we should know what kind of skills are expected, or what kind of skills are going to emerge as in future demand in Germany. say United Arab Emirates or West Asian countries, they have a lot of demand for construction labor. So if we map the skills, say let's do this entire world skill mapping we have, say we can train our youth accordingly so that we can emerge as a skill capital of the world. We know that Japan is an aging country. Japan has a lot of demand for geriatric care. So let's train our youth in geriatric care or train our youth in rehabilitative care or palliative care, all these things, so that they'll easily find employment. Likewise, Australia has a lot of demand for veterinary doctors or veterinary professionals, likewise, or other dairy related professionals. So let's train our youth in this so that they'll easily find an employment in those countries. So that's all about skill mapping. That's all about skill mapping. Yeah, we also have a scheme, right? Pravasi Kaushal Vikas Yojana, as part of which government is trying to map, government is trying to, send our people to other countries. So with this would be the last slide on industrial corridor concept. Please go through it. So this VCIC has the potential to increase the GDP in the corridor district by 6 times. GDP in the corridor districts by 6 times. Manufacturing output by 7 times. Creating additional employment of over 11 million. That's huge, right? 1 crore, 1.1 crore people getting employment is not a small thing. Okay. So that is this discussion on. I know you would have felt it a little lengthy, but who knows, if this comes up as an essay, I'm sure you guys would rate best possible essay, or even if it comes up for your 15 marker with the amount of time we have spent in discussing this topic, definitely I would expect you to write a good answer, isn't it? So let me quickly revise this, what happened here. So I have given the names of different corridors and I try to link it or try to tell how this corridor can also help in our international trade and boosting exports, and what are various components of an industrial corridor, or what are the benefits of an industrial corridor. And here we also told what should be done as part of this industrial corridor. Then these are the components of industrial corridor. Then we made a mention about industrial corridor strategy. Then we also had a mention about district-wise breakup of manufacturing sector contribution to GDP. Then what would happen if once this corridor would come into fruition or would come into full scale development. Then we also made a brief mention about how this corridor would help in hinterland connectivity. And this slide we discussed just to have an understanding of what potential we have with already existing industries, and what is the potential for development of certain other industries. Like some of them are also sunrise sectors here, right? So what are sunrise industries? Sunrise industries means? Yes, please. What are sunrise industries? Yeah, these are relatively new or emerging industries, but which have substantial potential to grow in the future. Like as you guys have already mentioned, like medical tourism or geotextile. Sorry, this what do you call them? Technical textiles, or online encyclopedias, or certain fourth IR related solar panel manufacturing. So certain these kind of industries, definitely we can call them as sunrise industries, and they're also driven by sunrise industries are often driven by some kind of disruptive innovations. So what are disruptive innovations? Yeah, what are disruptive innovations? What are disruptive innovations, Mo? Yeah, something like a path breaking, something which can which can make present technology irrelevant, which can alter the existing paradigms, isn't it? So yes, mobile phone has come and it's a disruptive innovation. It has led to systematic, proper destruction of what previous landline phones, isn't it? So it's part of capitalist societies. isn't it? Arthur's Computer calls it as creative destruction, right? So yes, disruptive innovations are very much part of capitalist societies. What are inclusive innovations? What are inclusive innovations? What are inclusive innovations? Yeah, inclusive innovations. Yes, as you guys have already told, which can reach the bottom. Yeah, good. Inclusive innovations are those innovations which are low cost or affordable, which has wider outreach on a long-term sustainable basis, and has the potential to generate employment to the people who are in the bottom one-third of the economic pyramid. So these are low cost or sustainable, low cost or affordable, sustainable on a long-term basis. It has wider outreach, and they can generate employment to people who are in the bottom one-third of economic pyramid. Such innovations, we call them as inclusive innovations. Okay, so we'll break for 5 minutes and I'll start the discussion after that. Yeah, let's start the session. Ma. So this slide I've taken from the budget itself. Government is trying to one skill university at Tirupati and also 30 skill colleges, one in each parliamentary constituency, one each in 4 triple ITs and one at JNTU Pulivendula. And I think this skill universities will, what they have mentioned is that they'll try to, then it's not exactly they haven't used the word affiliation or something like that, but the skills universities will be monitoring the activities of this skill colleges which will be established in this respective parliamentary constituency. So this is one important thing which the present government has done with regards to skill development. Skill development, present government has not done many schemes. For previous government, because they have this AP Skill Development Corporation, they have done several skill development initiatives, especially establishment of venture development coordination centers in several engineering colleges, which worked as incubation. And so there are more things to discuss, but the present government, I did not find much things, but this very popular or controversial, whatever you call it, reservation of jobs to locals, you can expect this question in your exam. I'm not discussing it because it's a glitch topic. You would have read adequately on that. But yes, be prepared. What are the try to have good examples of which other states have these kind of provisions, or what are the advantages of reserving jobs for locals, and what are the problems, or what are the consequences, what are the negative consequences that might emanate by reserving jobs for locals, and suggesting a good and balanced way forward in which they do not take a political stand outrightly saying that yes, we have to have job for locals, or no, we don't have, it should be based on a reasoned argument, and you must be in a position to substantiate your argument. If you have any examples, you can also write examples. If not examples, at least try to give a good and elaborate and convincing discussion substantiating your idea. Okay, be prepared on this topic. And going little further, another initiative which this present government has done is it's planning to establish international migration centers. It's somewhat similar to this what Pravasi Kaushal Vikas Yojana. As part of it, they want to establish skill development centers, right, for bridge training, and wanted to provide skill training for international standards. I think they are also planning to align it with United Kingdom standards, because United Kingdom skill standards are having worldwide recognition. Skill certification, bridge training, training in the language of the country to which they are migrating to, and training in the culture aspects of the country to which they are migrating to, so they'll find it will not be a cultural shock. So these kind of things they are doing as part of this Pravasi Kaushal Vikas Yojana, right? So somewhat similar to that, you must be aware, especially certain parts of Andhra Pradesh, like Kadapa district, or even parts of Chittoor district, there is high outflow or high migration to Gulf countries, especially this blue collar workers. And yes, for them to find better employment opportunities, this kind of international migration centers would help. Okay. And there is also plans to establish overseas manpower company of Andhra Pradesh. And yes, they will also oversee placements of countries in countries like Europe, Germany, and Gulf nations. Europe, Germany, and Gulf nations. Okay, so these are certain initiatives which they are trying to do, and yes, there is also a possibility of a question on skill development. One separate question you can expect. So, how present schemes on skill development or an improvement over previous schemes or an improvement over previous schemes. You hope you understood my question. How present schemes on skill development or an improvement over previous schemes. Present schemes means schemes like this Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, ART, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, these kind of schemes, how they are an improvement over previous schemes. You understand my question? Any ideas you want to share before I start the discussion? Yes, very good. Yeah, they're doing quality certification, right? Yeah, recognition of prior learning, they are doing good. Dedicated ministry. Okay, that's it. India Skill Service, it hasn't materialized, Anadi. I wish that also being included. It's just a proposal, right? My question is very specific. Like how the present scheme on skill development, like as you guys have already mentioned these ideas, say definitely they are giving importance to certification is now taken more seriously. Certification of skills. Certification of skills and other things like market relevant skills, market relevant curriculum, and job competent skills they are including, and they have institutionalized industrial interface. They have institutionalized industrial interface by establishment of what? Establishment of sector skill council, by establishment of sector skill council. And as you guys have already mentioned, recognition of prior learning, they're taking it seriously. They have recently brought changes in such a way that there are also opportunities for upskilling and reskilling. Upskilling and reskilling opportunities are also they are trying to now provide. And of course, now the laboratories or state of art infrastructure, and also they are emphasizing on faculty training previously, which was largely ignored. Faculty training also is an important component, isn't it? And they are also working on this vertical mobility. Lack of vertical mobility used to be the biggest problem previously, but in skills also now they are talking about vertical mobility by giving levels, say diploma, after that next higher level, so likewise they are giving levels, so based on one's level of skill, so there is a possibility he ending up with much better job opportunities. And yes, all the recent skills programs, there is also a lot of emphasis on placement based skilling with follow-up. Placement-based skilling with follow-up means ensuring whether the skill acquired is sustainable or not. Sustainable or not, isn't it? These are some of the important reforms which they have made in the recent skill development skills. I'll ask one simple question, try to answer. We all know that every year 1.1 crore people are entering labor force. 1.1 crore people are entering labor force. Is it possible? If you have observed, it's quite evident that without exception, all skill development programs in India, all skill development programs, or at least all the important skill development programs, all skill development programs in India, they are driven by government. They are driven by government or they are driven by state. Now, one simple question is it possible for government alone to train these many people, whether it is resources or whatever it is? Then what is alternative? Practically, it's not possible now, but that is what we are trying to attempt. Then what is alternative? Yeah, what can be the alternative? What can be alternative? Yes. Industry, academia, all these things are okay. These are how to improve skill development programs. Now I am saying, is government alone capable of doing? That's what my problem is. All the countries with good skilling ecosystem, they could achieve it only with industrial participation. Especially, they have very successful apprenticeship schemes. They have very successful apprenticeship schemes. So it's only that countries, especially you go and study skill development model of Germany or Japan, the reason why they are successfully skilling large number of people, and that too with industry ready skills, is by aggressively encouraging the concept of apprenticeship. See, it will be a win-win situation both for industries and also youth. Say somebody, he is doing his B pharmacy or M pharmacy, let's not insist that you pay him this much stipend, you pay him that much stipend. See, unnecessarily, like, we trying to impose, we trying to micromanage, and companies are scaring to take apprentices. But in reality, best possible knowledge, it will not be imparted somewhere in a skill training center by some faculty who has never worked in any industry, isn't it? Real field level expertise will come only with hands-on training, and only when he gets exposed to the industry trends firsthand, by being there, by experiencing. That's the only way, or that's the best way to skill large number of people in short possible time. So yes, apprenticeship model is not adequately promoted in our country. Might have its own negatives, but still we have to take it very seriously, and we have to ensure that apprenticeship model is taken in a big way. Otherwise, it's not possible just for government alone to train these many people who are coming into labor market on yearly basis. Country will have huge skill deficit. Country will have huge skill deficit if only state takes up the responsibility of skilling people. What is skill gap? What is skill gap? What is skill gap? What is skill gap? Skill gap means it's something of that sort, right? Say for instance, you have a lot of demand for fourth IR related professionals, but you don't have them, then definitely that will create a gap, isn't it? That will create a gap. Okay. So this is boosting skill development in India. Just read this slide. I don't want to discuss and waste your time. Just see this quickly. So train the trainer well, do skill mapping, apprenticeship, digital technologies for training, encourage RPF, have this national skill qualification frameworks, national open schooling, and QPs. I think it's quality, something of that sort. I'll confirm. Work integrated training, counseling, mobilization, isn't it? All these are essential to address the problem of skill gaps, isn't it? So these are some of the objectives of National Skill Development Mission. You must be aware, a dedicated institutional setup in the form of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras. They are trying to start as part of this skill development. Just try to quickly revise all those ideas, like Government of India's recent schemes like Strive scheme, Sankalp initiative. It won't take much time, but it will just add value to your understanding. Any question on skill development and all, you can write with more confidence by using more specific keywords. Which scheme has this? Yeah. Champion Employers Policy. Yeah, very good. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushalya Yojana has this champion employers policy, right? Wherein, one champion employer will be identified and he will be asked to go and train large number of people, and he would observe all those people whom he have trained into his company, just like Maruti Suzuki has been identified one of the champion employers in the recent time, right? Now what is this YSR Asara scheme? So empowering women to achieve self sufficiency. Who they are targeting in this scheme? Yes, please. Yeah, good. So they're targeting self-help groups. We know that Andhra Pradesh is one of the forerunner when it comes to performance of SHGs. Why? Any idea why? why we are a forerunner and why we always are talked about as a role model when it comes to SHG. Of course, Dwakra is one of the reasons. Other important, any specific, more specific ideas, reason why loan waiving, was this Vijay Kumar IAS? Did he do something? It's okay. Like, there must be some exceptional work done by some bureaucrats agreeing that some, there must be something specific institutional mechanisms or some innovations which we had made. Yeah, thing is that the community resource person, of course, at most places it is women led. That community resource persons whom we use for mobilizing women for SHG formation. Mobilizing women for SHG formation is one of the important reasons why we have. Of course, apart from that, we also have other reasons. Like, we are one of the states which pioneered this SHG banking linkage. We experimented well this SHG banking linkage. So that's one of the important reason why SHG have become very successful in very short time in our state. There are some more points. Look at this. These facts may be helpful for you. As much as 37% of bank linkages provided across the country are from the state. Of course, this cash credit facility is one of the important reasons for our success. Observe these figures carefully. How our SHG movement has grown. See, if this amount of money is going into the hands of the poor women, definitely it will contribute to poverty alleviation, isn't it? So, has grown steadily from 2004-5. On average, each self-help group availed itself of this much credit during financial year. Right? The reason for the shift in favor of SHG bank linkage is mainly attributed to cash credit limit facility. Okay. Then, so this point you can write cash credit limit facility. So that's one important reason. Apart from it, I'm sure you must be aware what this cash credit limit facility is. Means even before they can take loan, even before expiry of the old loan, within certain borrowing limits. That is cash. Sorry, that is cash credit facility. Okay. So there are many other reasons also for the success of self-help group in the state. Community-based recovery mechanism. Try to remember community-based recovery mechanism. Of course, for bank linkages, you have subcommittees. You have micro credit plans from SHGs and state government support. So these are some specific reasons why AP tops. In SHG sector. Okay. Having this community resource person who plays an important role in mobilizing women for SHGs and other important things like cash, and we are the pioneers in SHG bank linkage model. And apart from that, other important reason like community-based recovery mechanism, bank linkage subcommittees, microcredit plans. All these are, what are microcredit plans? Microcredit plans. Nothing but, see, it's nothing but it's more like in planning coming from the SHGs itself. Say how much money they want to be invested. So all these plans will be brought together, and the plan will address members' need for income generation, health, education, consumption, housing, and other social needs. So the plan is a process-oriented document evolved through a series of dialogues at household level, SHG level, likewise. So that's a micro credit plan. So that is the reason, one of the reason for success of SHG in our state. Okay, ma? Just be prepared, because I know if a question is asked like benefits of self-help group movement or issues with self-help group movement or challenges of self-help group, all those points you will easily write. But by any chance, if an essay comes up on SHG or even a general studies question in SHG, if you guys are not in a position to write these specifics, it will not be a complete answer. That's why I felt that I will discuss these ideas. As anyways, as we have initiated the discussion, let's take some time and please tell me what are the benefits of SHG. Let me see how comprehensively you will try to answer such a very basic and simple question. Let me see if I can write points other than what you are mentioning here. Yeah, this is the problem you are trying to mention, Navneet. I agree with you. Performance is based on the credit flow, but not based on the outcomes. I agree with you in this. Yes. Also read about this SERP and MEPMA, like both MEP, MEA, and so, this SERP, Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty. Those things, because these are the important institutional mechanisms, right? The process of mobilization of self-help group, and any question on poverty alleviation and all, you have to mention these institutional mechanisms also. Okay. Inclusion, economic empowerment, women empowerment, okay, women entrepreneurship, saving habit, thrift, social status of women will improve, good. Women agency also will improve, funding the unfunded, okay, social poverty alleviation, women empowerment, community participation in development, social cohesion, okay, okay, economic benefits, political and administrative benefits also may follow, okay. Political, I'm not sure, because it's a social grouping, right? Financial empowerment of women, support family, formal credit, promote leadership, social status, good. Yeah, very good. Radhika, it's a very good example. Ma? Women fighting against alcohol, social status. Fine. Yeah, I thought you can use ideas like this, Mahendra. So all these things which you have mentioned, like, okay, women empowerment, or women financial security. I'll tell, because those villages in which SHG model is vibrant, nutritional indicators have improved. Nutritional indicators of children have improved. You know why nutritional indicators of children have improved in those villages where SHG is vibrant? Because women generally have a tendency to spend the money they save, on nutrition of the children, Also, studies have established that in villages or in the regions where SHG movement is vibrant, child health related indicators, child health indicators, whether it is IMR, MMR, U5MR, immunization coverage, immunization coverage. All these things have performed much better, much better. Same is the case they have observed with regards to maternal health related indicators. And other interesting observation, in the places where SHG movement is vibrant, they fought against social evils. Women fought against social evils, as your friend have mentioned, like dowry, infanticide, feticide, and substance abuse, domestic violence, domestic violence, and also places where this SHG movement is vibrant. It also has been established that doctor absenteeism in primary health centers, teacher absenteeism in primary health centers, and in primary schools has come down. Primary schools has come down because, isn't it? It's a social grouping, and definitely because of that social capital, which was generated by a group of women coming together, it has enhanced their bargaining power. It has enhanced their bargaining power. It has enhanced their bargaining power. As it has enhanced their bargaining power, it has other collateral benefits. Yes, as some of you have mentioned, nowadays, women SHGs or SHG women are also taken into confidence by local self-governments, especially Panchayat Raj elections these days. Panchayat Raj elections. In Panchayat Raj elections, SHG members, though they do not have a direct role, but because of the factor that they enjoy better bargaining power, are considered for their opinion on political issues. So likewise, SHG movement has multiple benefits, when it comes to nutritional indicators, when it comes to health indicators, when it comes to addressing the problems like social evils and even certain issues and governance issues which cannot be fixed easily, like doctor absenteeism, teacher absenteeism. So because of the social capital it has generated, which enhance the bargaining power of these people. So that is how SHGs are. So also be prepared for a good way forward. Good way forward means, say, how to strengthen this SHG movement, how to make it more effective, as some of you have already suggested. You have to give them access to cheap or affordable credits, and you have to train them with the requisite skills also, isn't it? So they should not remain just like an SHG, right? They have to grow up into this. Micro industry has to become small, medium, and maybe it has to grow much bigger. You have to give them market intelligence. You have to give them access to good forward linkages, backward linkages, good branding support, isn't it? So all these things will lead to much better or much optimal utilization of this SHG movement, which is already vibrant in states like Andhra Pradesh. Okay, yeah. Even when it comes to financial inclusion, they should not be just confined to opening of the bank account, operating the bank account, taking of the loan. They must be used to popularize other financial products like micro insurance, micro pension, or even equity investments. They must be trained in all these things so that they'll make good use of market, and they add new dynamism and vigor to rural market, and they stimulate the potential which is there in the rural market. So they must be used as that entrepreneurs and bring out their entrepreneurial capabilities. So that is about this SHG discussion on SHG. So try to be aware of these specifics. Must learn to bring in these specifics in your answers. Okay. Regarding rural development, not much to discuss. This is the slide I've taken from budget itself. So under material component convergence, government intends to take up village level construction of, see, all this Raitu Bharosa Kendrams and health clinics. It's a good idea actually on behalf of government. So they have to generate employment, at the same time they have to ensure asset generation. So they want to generate these assets like Raitu Bharosa Kendrams, health clinics and village secretariats. All these things they want to converge with Manrega. They want to converge it with Manrega so that Manrega employment generation will be used for asset creation at the levels of village. So these are some of the important things which I could identify. So yeah, before I stop the session, I just would like to spend some 5 to 10 minutes on mains answer writing. This part, I know some of you would not take it seriously, but please do not ignore this. Please do not ignore this. What I meant, be diligent, write a decent introduction, and identify all the relevant dimensions without fail. And you will identify all the relevant dimensions without fail only when you read the question minimum 5 times. Do not be in a hurry to attempt the question without reading the question. Please do read the question 5 times. I know some of you must be already aware of this, but try to reinforce this. Even the senior most aspirants commit this mistake of not reading the question properly. Only when you read the question properly, it will give you a proper direction, isn't it? So identify all the relevant dimensions, and after identifying the relevant dimensions, try to structure your answers properly. Structure your answer properly. Structure, we have talked about this term many times. Structuring means structure it properly. Say for instance, SHG. Benefits of SHG means, yes, what social benefits would flow, what economic benefits would flow, what psychological benefits would flow, likewise. So try to organize your ideas in such a way that you enhance the presentability or presentation quality of your answer. That is something very significant, that is something very important. And do not forget to include good facts, good statistics wherever necessary. Do not hesitate to include them. Try to practice some quotes or quotations on all important topics. SHG, why not a good quote on poverty? Why not a good quote on social capital? Why not a good quote on, women organization skills, something like that. So likewise, if you are armed with this good quality of quotes, now they will undoubtedly enhance the quality of your answer. And also uh, do not forget to mention, or do not forget to write a decent conclusion. Okay. You want me to AP migration issue. So AP migration issue, we know that you guys also must have read in newspapers. What's the most important reason for migration? It's obviously because we could not generate adequate employment opportunities. We could not generate adequate employment opportunities. On the other hand, we have invested reasonably well, especially from the year 2005. We have invested a lot on higher education sector, especially by asking or by giving everybody access to engineering colleges, and isn't it? So this has created a huge employment, lack of employment. So obviously people in search of employment, they are migrating to other places, and several other reasons like, say, post bifurcation, you guys must be already aware, we are left with an agrarian economy. And as we are left with an agrarian economy, and you have just seen the contribution of manufacturing sector to GDP, service sector also is not doing well. So obviously not much employment is being generated. So which in turn has, and we have vibrant urban areas like Hyderabad in the proximity, and for Rayalaseema people, Bangalore is there in the proximity. For people in Chittoor district, we have Chennai in the proximity, and for people in North Coastal Andhra, like there are mining units in Odisha and Chhattisgarh and parts of Jharkhand, parts of West Bengal. So they are migrating. So it's largely a distress migration because of lack of because of lack of employment opportunities, because lack of opportunity for entrepreneurs, both at the urban level and also at the at the rural level. So rural enterprising, rural entrepreneur scope or skills are less, and MSME sector also is not growing adequately. So these all factors have contributed to high rates of migration in our AP. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm usually posting the document as it is, but now I'll not post because I just want to update it with some questions. Before tomorrow afternoon, I'll post this note. So I'll end this session, I'll end this module for now. So all the very best for your exam. Do your exam well. Do not take it lightly. That's what I can say. Don't think that, yeah, I know most of you are here are UPSC aspirants. Don't think that this is some lesser exam or less important exam or less exam with less competition. Come out of these kind of attitude. No, it's as much competitive or maybe more competition, because best of the minds in Telugu states are attempting this exam, right? So the competition is between you, and undeniably the number of posts when compared to UPSC exam is less. So give it the due respect which it deserves, and yes, come up with more specific ideas. Don't write very generic and boring cliched suggestions and cliched answers. Be fully focused when you are writing your answers, and try to complete the paper on time. And if you have not done adequate answer writing practice till now, work on that answer writing speed, irrespective of all the knowledge which you have gained all these days. If you can't complete paper on time, that would not make sense. Don't come out of the examination hall and tell that I could not complete paper, I could not find time. See, these are all complaints, these are all reasons. Don't tell reasons. You still have 10 days time, right? Practice answer writing speed every day, 1 hour. It won't come suddenly on the day of the exam. If you try to put pen on the paper, it won't come. Do it every day for 1 hour from today. Definitely on the day of exam, you will finish off the paper on time. Please do not ignore it. You may be having very good answer writing skills also, but still that also will not come to your rescue if you do not work on your answer writing speed. Okay. It's like doing everything else and ignoring the most important thing, that is not taking care of your answer writing speed. And do not ask me how to improve answer writing speed. It improves only with writing answers, and try to avoid, like, that's what, if you read your question well, you know what to write and what not to write. You will write only specific things, and when you write specific things in simple, crisp, easy to understand manner, you will not beat around the bush and unnecessarily build lengthy lines and lengthy paragraphs and complicate your narration and further confuse the examiner. Right? Simple, easy to understand, crisp sentences. So yes, examiner will find it, helpful, or examiner will find it easy to read your answer. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much and all the very best.